The observation deck of the CSS Meridian offered a view that never got old. Stars stretched endlessly in every direction, and somewhere out there, beyond the shimmer of the warp field, lay the Lumaran homeworld. Commander Dex Holloway stood with his hands clasped behind his back, reviewing the mission brief on his neural display for the third time. Princess Seraphine of Lumara, humanoid, diplomatic immunity. High priority protection detail for 7 standard days. Simple enough. He had done this 100 times. Politicians, royalty, corporate executives, they all needed the same thing. Someone to stand between them and danger, someone to smile politely and fade into the background. The door chimed. Captain Torres stepped through, her uniform crisp, her expression unreadable. Holloway. She's arrived. Docking Bay 3. Dex nodded. Any special instructions? Torres hesitated, which was unusual. She was not a woman who hesitated. The cultural briefing was limited. Lumara only opened diplomatic channels 6 months ago. Their customs are still being catalogued. Understood. Just keep her safe and keep it professional. Always do, Captain. Torres left, and Dex checked his sidearm, adjusted his collar, and headed for the docking bay. The bay was a controlled chaos of personnel and cargo drones. The Lumaran shuttle sat in the center, sleek and organic-looking, like a pearl dropped into a metal bowl. The ramp extended with a soft hiss, and Dex straightened. She appeared at the top of the ramp, and for a moment he forgot to breathe. Princess Seraphine was not what he expected. The briefing had said humanoid, but it had failed to mention the way her skin seemed to glow faintly, a soft pearlescent shimmer that caught the bay lights. Her hair was long silver white, flowing like liquid silk down her back. She wore a fitted gown of deep blue that seemed to shift colors as she moved, and her eyes were enormous, luminous gold with vertical pupils. She was breathtaking. Dex forced himself to focus. Job first. Always. He approached and offered a standard coalition salute. Your Highness, I'm Commander Dex Holloway. I'll be your security escort during your stay. She descended the ramp with graceful steps, her gaze fixed on him. When she reached the bottom, she stopped directly in front of him, closer than protocol suggested. Her head tilted slightly, studying him. You are my protector? Her voice was melodic, almost song-like. Dex nodded. Yes, ma'am, I see. She stepped even closer, and Dex resisted the urge to step back. You are quite tall. Standard for my assignment, Your Highness, and broad. Her eyes traced his shoulders, his chest. Strong, I do my best. Then she did something that made his brain stutter. She turned around, slowly, deliberately, until her back was to him. She lowered her shoulders slightly, arched her spine, and stood perfectly still. Dex stared. Ma'am? She looked over her shoulder, those golden eyes curious. Do you not accept? Accept what, exactly? The greeting. I present myself to show trust and openness. It is our way. Her expression turned uncertain. Have I done it incorrectly? Dex cleared his throat, fighting to keep his expression neutral. No, it's just that humans don't typically greet each other that way. Oh, she turned back around, looking genuinely confused. How do you greet, then? He extended his hand. We shake hands. She looked at his hand as if it were a fascinating artifact, then placed her much smaller hand in his. Her skin was warm, almost hot to the touch. Like this? Exactly like that. She smiled, radiant and innocent. I like your custom. It is intimate but respectful. Dex released her hand, perhaps a bit too quickly. Let me show you to your quarters. As they walked through the corridors, crew members stopped and stared. Seraphine seemed oblivious, her attention fixed on Dex. She asked questions constantly, her curiosity boundless. What was his favorite food? Did humans dream? Why did his uniform have so many pockets? Her quarters were in the diplomatic wing, spacious and well-appointed. Dex ran through the security features, while Seraphine explored, touching everything with childlike wonder. And this panel controls the environmental settings, Dex explained. Temperature, humidity, lighting. Do you sleep nearby? She interrupted. I'll be stationed outside your door. Outside? She frowned. That seems lonely. It's standard procedure, Your Highness. Seraphine, she corrected. Please, titles feel distant. Dex hesitated. Using her first name felt too personal, but refusing seemed rude. Seraphine, then? She beamed. Much better. She moved closer, looking up at him. Dex, may I call you Dex? If you prefer, I do. She reached out and touched his chest, right over his heart. Dex went rigid. Your heart beats fast. Are you unwell? I'm fine. Are you certain? On Lumara, elevated heart rate indicates either fear or attraction. She tilted her head. You do not fear me, do you? No, ma'am. Then it must be. Let's review your schedule, Dex interrupted, pulling up a holographic display. Seraphine stepped back, looking amused. The itinerary was packed. Meet and greets, policy discussions, a tour of the ship's hydroponics bay, a formal dinner with the senior staff. Standard diplomatic fare. You will accompany me to all of these? Seraphine asked. Everyone, even the bathing hours? Dex nearly dropped his datapad. The what? I must bathe before the formal dinner. Will you guard me then as well? I'll be outside the door. She looked disappointed. I see. On Lumara, it is customary to bathe with trusted companions. It shows vulnerability and strengthens bonds. We'll stick with the door, Dex said firmly. As you wish. She moved to the viewport, gazing out at the stars. Your people are very concerned with distance, I think. Always barriers. Always space between. Dex had no response to that. The first meeting was in Conference Room 7, a sterile space with a long table and uncomfortable chairs. Seraphine sat beside Dex, close enough that he could smell her something floral and sweet. Like night-blooming flowers, the human delegates filed in. Director Vance from Colonial Affairs, Ambassador Rhea Blackwood, a few aides and specialists. They all tried not to stare at Seraphine and failed miserably. Vance started with pleasantries, discussing trade routes and cultural exchange programs. Seraphine listened attentively, nodding at appropriate moments. But every few minutes, her hand would drift toward Dex's arm or shoulder, small touches that seemed unconscious. Dex gently moved away each time. She would frown, confused, then smile and focus back on the meeting. Halfway through, she leaned close and whispered, Why do they keep looking at me? You're a princess from another world, Dex whispered back. They're curious. Are you curious about me, Dex? Every single cell in his body screamed yes. I'm here to protect you, Your Highness. That is not an answer. Vance cleared his throat, clearly having heard the exchange. Princess Seraphine, perhaps we should discuss the cultural exchange portion of your visit. Seraphine straightened. Of course. I am eager to learn human customs. For example, your greeting rituals fascinate me. Dex showed me the handshaking. Are there others? Ambassador Blackwood, ever diplomatic, smiled. Many. We also embrace, though typically with close friends or family. Embrace. Seraphine tested the word. Like this? She turned to Dex and wrapped her arms around him, pressing close. Dex froze. The room fell silent. She was warm and soft and smelled incredible, and he was absolutely, completely, professionally compromised. Seraphine, he said quietly, this is not the appropriate setting. She pulled back, her expression stricken. I have offended again? No, just surprised us. She looked around the table at the various expressions of shock and amusement. I apologize. I am still learning. No need to apologize, Your Highness, Blackwood said smoothly. We're all here to learn from each other. The meeting continued, but Dex could feel the shift. Everyone was watching them now, measuring the space between them, noting every glance and gesture. When it finally ended, Dex escorted Seraphine back to her quarters. She was quiet, subdued. I embarrassed you, she said as they reached her door. You didn't. You are being kind. But I saw your reaction. She turned to face him. On Lamara, touch is how we communicate trust, affection, connection. Without it, we feel isolated. I understand. But humans have different boundaries. Do you not touch those you care for? We do, just not in professional settings. She studied him for a long moment. And this is professional? You and I? Yes. Something flickered in her eyes. Disappointment, maybe? Or resignation? I see. Thank you, Commander Holloway. The use of his title stung more than it should have. Get some rest, Your Highness. Tomorrow's schedule is just as full. She nodded and entered her quarters. The door slid shut, and Dex exhaled. 7 days. He could manage 7 days. His communicator chimed. Captain Torres. Holloway, report. First day complete. No incidents. I heard about the conference room. Of course she did. Cultural misunderstanding. Resolved. See that it stays resolved. We can't afford complications. Understood, Captain. He took up his post outside Seraphine's door, settling in for a long night. Through the door, he heard soft movement, the sound of water running. He tried not to think about her bathing, tried not to imagine that luminous skin slick with water. Professional. He was a professional. The door chimed. Dex stood. Yes? Dex? Her voice was soft, uncertain. Are you truly comfortable out there? I'm fine, Your Highness. A pause. Will you tell me if I do something wrong? In your culture, you haven't done anything wrong. But I make you uncomfortable. He closed his eyes. Honesty warred with protocol. Protocol 1. You're a guest and a dignitary. My comfort is irrelevant. Silence. Then quietly, good night, Dex. Good night, Seraphine. He heard her footsteps retreat. The lights in her quarters dimmed, visible through the door, seen. 6.5 days to go. The grand ballroom of the CSS Meridian had been transformed. Crystalline chandeliers refracted light into cascading rainbows. Floating orbs drifted like luminescent jellyfish, and a live orchestra played something classical and sweeping. Diplomats from a dozen worlds mingled in their finest attire, a kaleidoscope of colors and cultures. Dex stood near the entrance in his dress uniform, scanning the crowd with practiced efficiency. He had positioned himself with clear sightlines to all exits, mentally cataloging potential threats and escape routes. Standard procedure. And Seraphine arrived, and standard procedure evaporated. She wore a gown that seemed woven from starlight itself, silver fabric that clung to her curves before flowing out in an elegant train. Her white hair was styled in an intricate braid, woven with tiny crystals that caught the light. She was luminous, ethereal, impossible to look away from. Every conversation in the room stuttered to a halt. Seraphine's golden eyes found Dex immediately. She smiled, radiant and genuine, and began moving toward him. Dex forced himself to remain still, professional, even as his heart hammered against his ribs. Good evening, Commander, she said formally, but her eyes sparkled with mischief. Your Highness, you look lovely. Lovely? She seemed to test the word. Is that good? Very good. Her smile widened. You look pleasing as well. The uniform suits you. Before Dex could respond, the crowd parted for a new arrival. Another Lumaran, tall and graceful, with the same pearlescent skin and golden eyes. He wore robes of deep crimson that complemented his copper-toned hair. Seraphine's expression shifted to surprise, then delight. Aldrich! The newcomer approached with fluid steps, his gaze sweeping over Seraphine before landing on Dex. Something calculating flickered in his eyes. "Cousin," Seraphine said, switching to flawless coalition standard. "I did not expect you. The council thought you might appreciate familiar company." Aldrich's voice was smooth, cultured. "And who is this?" "Commander Dex Holloway, my security escort." "Dex, this is Prince Aldrich, my cousin and representative of the Lumaran Diplomatic Corps." Aldrich extended his hand in the human fashion, and Dex shook it. The prince's grip was firm, his skin fever-hot like Seraphine's. "A pleasure, Commander." "I trust you have been taking excellent care of my cousin?" "That's my job, sir." Aldrich's smile was knowing. "Indeed." He turned to Seraphine. "Cousin, we should greet Ambassador Blackwood. She specifically requested an audience." Seraphine glanced at Dex, something uncertain in her expression, then nodded. "Of course." As they moved into the crowd, Dex followed at his standard 3-pace distance. He watched as Seraphine and Aldrich worked the room with practiced ease, charming diplomats and dignitaries alike. They were a matched set, beautiful and graceful, clearly comfortable in this world of politics and pageantry. Dex was just the help. The reminder settled in his chest like a stone. Ambassador Blackwood materialized beside him, a champagne flute in her elegant hand. She was a striking woman in her 50s, with silver-streaked black hair and sharp, observant eyes. "Commander, enjoying the festivities?" "I'm working, Ambassador." "Ah, yes." Working. Her gaze drifted to where Seraphine stood, currently laughing at something Aldrich had said. "She's quite taken with you, you know." Dex kept his expression neutral. "She's friendly with everyone." "Is that what you call it?" Blackwood sipped her champagne. "I've been doing this for 30 years, Commander. I know the difference between diplomatic courtesy and genuine interest. The question is, do you? My personal feelings are irrelevant." "Are they?" She studied him. "The coalition isn't what it used to be, Dex. We used to be so rigid, so caught up in protocols that we forgot why we built bridges between worlds in the first place. Connection. Understanding. Sometimes that means bending the rules. With respect, Ambassador, I can't afford to bend rules. Not in my position. Can't or won't." Before Dex could answer, a commotion drew their attention. Aldrich had moved away from the main group and was now standing very close to a junior officer, a young man who looked simultaneously terrified and flattered. Then Aldrich did it. He turned around, slowly and deliberately, presenting his back to the officer in that same gesture Seraphine had shown. Dex. The officer's face went crimson. Nervous laughter rippled through nearby observers. Seraphine appeared at Dex's side, her expression troubled. "He should not do that here. It's your custom, isn't it?" "Yes, but Aldrich knows human protocols. He is being provocative." She watched her cousin with a frown. "He is testing something." "Testing what?" She looked up at Dex, and there was something vulnerable in her eyes. "You. He is testing you." Aldrich had moved on, leaving the flustered officer behind. He approached another diplomat, an older woman this time, and engaged her in conversation. Within moments, he had her laughing, charmed. "Your cousin is very good at this," Dex observed. "He has always been skilled at reading people, understanding what they want." Seraphine's voice was quiet. "It is why the council sent him. They trust his judgment." "About what?" She didn't answer. Instead, she took Dex's arm, her touch light but deliberate. "Will you walk with me? I need air." It wasn't really a request. Dex guided her toward the balcony, away from the crowd. The terrace overlooked the ship's arboretum, a sprawling garden visible through massive viewports. The stars beyond provided a breathtaking backdrop. Seraphine moved to the railing, her hands gripping the metal. I apologize for Aldrich. He can be difficult. He's just doing his job, same as me. No, she turned to face him. His job is to evaluate whether I am making appropriate choices, whether my interest in human culture is beneficial or detrimental to Lumara's interests. And am I detrimental? She studied him for a long moment. That depends. On what? On whether you see me as merely an assignment. Dex felt the walls closing in. This was dangerous territory, the kind that ended careers. Seraphine, I know what you will say: protocol, professionalism, duty. She stepped closer. But I also know what I feel when I am near you. The way my heart quickens, the way I feel safe and uncertain all at once. On Lumara, we do not hide such things. We honor them. We're not on Lumara. No, we are in between, are we not? Between your world and mine. Perhaps here, different rules apply. She was close enough now that Dex could see the flecks of silver. In her golden eyes, could feel the heat radiating from her skin. Every instinct screamed at him to step back, to maintain distance, to remember his training. He didn't move. You feel it too, she whispered. I know you do. Your heart betrays you every time I'm near. What I feel doesn't matter. There are regulations, consequences for you or for me. Both. She reached up, her fingertips barely brushing his jaw. Then we are both trapped by rules neither of us made. Footsteps echoed from inside. Dex stepped back just as Aldrich emerged onto the balcony, his expression unreadable. Cousin, the ambassador requires your presence. Seraphine's hand dropped. Of course. She looked at Dex one more time, something resigned in her expression, then followed Aldrich inside. Dex remained on the balcony, his hands gripping the railing where hers had been moments before. The metal was still warm from her touch. Complicated, isn't it? Dex turned. Blackwood had appeared in the doorway, her expression sympathetic. I'm managing. Are you? She moved to stand beside him. I see the way you look at her, Dex, like she's the only thing in the room. That's not management. That's surrender. I haven't acted on anything. Not yet. But you will, or it will eat you alive. She sighed. Let me tell you something. 20 years ago, I was where you are, assigned to protect a Centaurian prince during trade negotiations. He was brilliant, passionate, completely wrong for me by every regulation in the book. Dex looked at her. What happened? I chose duty. Sent him home, maintained my perfect record, earned my promotion. Her smile was bitter, and I've regretted it every single day since. You know what I learned? Duty doesn't keep you warm at night. Duty doesn't make you laugh or challenge your perspectives or make you feel alive. Duty is cold comfort when you're lying awake wondering what if. You're saying I should throw away my career? I'm saying you should decide what you're really protecting. Her or yourself. She left him alone with that thought. Inside, the gala continued. Dex watched through the viewport as Seraphine moved through the crowd, radiant and graceful. Aldrich stayed close, a constant presence at her side. Once, she glanced toward the balcony, her eyes meeting Dex's across the distance. Then someone claimed her attention, and the moment passed. Dex returned to the ballroom, resuming his post near the wall. He watched and waited and did his job. Even as something inside him quietly shattered dot near midnight, the gala began winding down. Guests filtered out in clusters, offering final pleasantries and promises to reconnect. Seraphine stood near the entrance with Aldrich, bidding farewell to departing diplomats. She looked exhausted, the luminescence of her skin dimmed slightly. When the last guest departed, her shoulders sagged. Cousin, Aldrich said quietly, we should speak. Tomorrow, perhaps. I am very tired. This cannot wait. His tone was gentle but firm. Walk with me. Seraphine glanced at Dex, then nodded. The three of them made their way through quiet corridors toward the diplomatic wing. Aldrich maintained a careful distance, his expression thoughtful. When they reached Seraphine's quarters, Aldrich stopped. "Commander, might I have a moment alone with my cousin?" It wasn't really a question. Dex nodded and stepped back, giving them space while remaining within protective range. Through the door, he could hear their voices, muffled but audible. They spoke in Lumaran, musical and flowing, but emotional enough that Dex caught the gist. Aldrich was concerned. Seraphine was defensive. Back and forth, tension rising. Then Aldrich switched to Coalition Standard, perhaps for Dex's benefit. "You cannot pursue this, Sira. A council would never approve." "A security officer? It would be seen as beneath your station, a scandal." "I do not care about scandal." "But I do. Our people do. This alliance is fragile. One misstep could shatter years of diplomatic progress. So I should deny what I feel? Pretend my heart is as cold as the protocols? I am asking you to think beyond yourself, beyond this moment." Silence. Then Seraphine's voice, small and broken. "He does not even want me, Aldrich. He has made that abundantly clear. Has he? Or is he simply doing what he believes is right?" More silence. Finally, Aldrich emerged. He looked at Dex, his expression complex. "She cares for you, Commander. Deeply. Whatever you decide to do with that information is your choice. But know that choices have consequences for all of us." He walked away, leaving Dex alone in the corridor. The door to Seraphine's quarters remained closed. Dex could sense her on the other side, could almost feel her sadness through the barrier. He raised his hand to knock, to say something, anything. But duty held him frozen. Rules, regulations, consequences. He lowered his hand and took up his post, standing guard outside her door, like the good soldier he was trained to be. Even as everything inside him screamed to do otherwise, dawn cycle came too early. Dex had spent the night at his post, catching maybe 2 hours of restless sleep in the chair he'd requisitioned. His body ached, but it was nothing compared to the weight in his chest. The door to Seraphine's quarters opened. She emerged in simple traveling clothes, her hair pulled back, her expression carefully neutral. Their eyes met for a brief moment before she looked away. "Good morning, Commander." Not Dex, Commander. The distance in that one word cut deeper than any blade. "Your Highness. Your schedule includes a tour of the hydroponics bay at 0900, followed by a final diplomatic luncheon at 1200 hours. And then I leave." "Yes, ma'am." She nodded slowly. "Then let us proceed. I would not want to waste your time." The hydroponics bay was a marvel of engineering, a sprawling indoor forest that provided fresh produce for the entire ship. The tour guide, a cheerful botanist named Dr. Reeves, explained the various growing techniques with infectious enthusiasm. Seraphine listened politely, asked appropriate questions, and maintained perfect diplomatic composure. She did not look at Dex once. Halfway through the tour, Dex's communicator chirped. "Captain Torres, priority signal. Holloway, report to my office immediately." Dex looked at Seraphine. "Ma'am, I need to—" "Go," she said quietly. "I am certain Dr. Reeves can ensure my safety among the tomatoes." Dr. Reeves looked flustered, but nodded eagerly. "Of course, Your Highness. It would be my honor." Dex hesitated, every instinct screaming not to leave her. But orders were orders. He nodded and headed for the exit. Captain Torres's office was Spartan and efficient, much like the woman herself. She stood behind her desk, her expression grave. Beside her stood Director Helena Voss, head of Coalition Security, her silver hair pulled back severely. Her ice-blue eyes fixed on Dex, His stomach dropped. "Commander Holloway," Voss said, her voice clipped. "Sit, Exat. I've been reviewing reports from your assignment with Princess Seraphine." Voss pulled up a holographic display. Multiple instances of inappropriate physical contact, compromising positions, breaches of professional distance. "Director, Can you explain the balcony incident? When you allowed the princess to touch your face in what witnesses described as an intimate gesture. That was a cultural misunderstanding. The princess has developed feelings for you, Commander. Feelings that could jeopardize this entire diplomatic mission." Voss leaned forward. "Tell me honestly, have you reciprocated those feelings?" The question hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Dex could lie, could play it safe, could protect his career with 3 simple words. "No, ma'am, never." But Blackwood's words echoed in his mind. "Duty doesn't keep you warm at night." "Yes," he said quietly. "I have feelings for her." Torres closed her eyes. Voss's expression hardened. "Then you leave me no choice. You are hereby removed from this assignment, effective immediately. Lieutenant Shun will assume protection duties. Furthermore, you will face a formal review that may result in suspension or termination." The words hit like physical blows. His career, everything he'd worked for, crumbling in real time. "With respect, Director, I have never acted inappropriately. I have maintained professional boundaries." "Professional boundaries?" Voss's laugh was harsh. "You've compromised yourself emotionally, Commander. That alone is enough. You're dismissed. Report to your quarters and await further instructions." Dex stood on shaking legs. "What about Seraphine? She should hear this from me. Princess Seraphine is no longer your concern. Lieutenant Shun will inform her of the change." "Director, please." "Dismissed, Commander." Torres wouldn't meet his eyes. Dex saluted mechanically and left, the world tilting beneath his feet. He made it halfway to his quarters before the alarm blared. Red lights flashed. The ship's II announced calmly, "Hull breach in Section 7. Hydroponics bay compromised. Emergency bulkhead sealing in 30 seconds. Section 7. The hydroponics bay .Seraphine .Dex ran. The corridors were chaos. Crew members rushing to emergency stations. Dex shoved past them, his security codes overriding locked doors. 20 seconds. 15. He reached Section 7 just as the bulkhead began to descend. Through the narrowing gap, he could see the hydroponics bay in ruins. A cargo drone had malfunctioned, crashing through the exterior hull. Air was venting into space, plants and equipment flying toward the breach. And there, clinging to a support beam, was Seraphine. Dr. Reeves was nowhere to be seen, probably already evacuated. But Seraphine hung on, her strength failing, her eyes wide with terror as the vacuum pulled at her. 10 seconds. Dex didn't think. He dove under the descending bulkhead, rolling into the bay. The suction was immediate and violent, dragging him toward the breach. He grabbed a support strut, muscles screaming, and pulled himself hand over hand toward Seraphine. 5 seconds. "Dex!" Her voice was barely audible over the roar of escaping atmosphere. He reached her, wrapping one arm around her waist. With his free hand, he triggered his emergency beacon. "Torres, emergency transport, Section 7, 2 persons now." The bulkhead slammed shut behind them, sealing off their escape route. They were trapped in a bay with a hull breach. Seconds from explosive decompression. 3 seconds. Seraphine's grip was failing. Dex held her tighter, their faces inches apart. Her golden eyes locked onto his. "I'm sorry," he said. "For everything." "I should have." The transporter beam caught them. Reality dissolved into golden light, then reformed in the emergency transport bay. They materialized in a heap, gasping, safe. Medical teams swarmed them immediately. Someone wrapped Seraphine in thermal blankets, while a medic scanned Dex for injuries. Through the commotion, Dex kept his eyes on Seraphine, making sure she was okay. She stared back at him, something raw and open in her expression. Then Voss appeared, her face thunderous. "Commander Holloway, what in the name of—" "He saved my life," Seraphine interrupted, her voice ringing with authority. She stood, shedding the blankets, every inch a princess. "Your commander risked everything to protect me. Is that not what he was assigned to do?" "He was relieved of duty," Voss said coldly. "Then it is fortunate he chose to ignore your orders." Seraphine stepped forward, her gaze never leaving Voss. "Director, I believe we need to have a conversation. In private. Now." It was not a request. Voss looked like she'd swallowed glass, but she nodded. "Captain Torres, see that the commander receives medical attention. Princess, if you'll follow me." As they left, Seraphine glanced back at Dex one final time. He couldn't read her expression not an hour later. Dex sat in the medical bay, cleared of all injuries, waiting. For what, he wasn't sure. Arrest, probably. Formal charges. The end of everything. Ambassador Blackwood appeared in the doorway. "Walk with me, Commander." They walked in silence through the ship until they reached the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly, beautiful and indifferent. "Princess Seraphine has requested asylum," Blackwood said finally. Dex's head snapped around. "What? Not permanently. Just an extension of her visit. She claims there are cultural elements she wishes to study further. Director Voss approved it personally. I don't understand." Blackwood smiled. Seraphine made Voss an offer. She would extend her stay, providing valuable cultural insights and strengthening the alliance. In exchange, you would be assigned as her permanent liaison and cultural consultant. Cultural consultant? It's a diplomatic position. Technically civilian, though it carries security clearances. You'd work directly with Seraphine, helping her navigate human customs while facilitating Lumaran human understanding. Dex's mind raced. Why would Voss agree to that? Because Seraphine made it clear that any other arrangement would be unacceptable. That she would return to Lumara immediately and recommend against further cooperation. Blackwood's smile widened. She also may have mentioned that you saved her life, which makes you a hero in the eyes of the Lumaran Council. Refusing her request would be diplomatically catastrophic. She manipulated them. She played the game better than they did. Aldrich taught her well, I suspect. Blackwood placed a hand on his shoulder. The question is, Commander, what do you want to do? What did he want? He wanted Seraphine. Wanted her laugh, her curiosity, her warmth. Wanted to know her beyond protocols and duties. Wanted to see where this impossible thing between them might lead. Where is she now? Her quarters, waiting. Dex was already moving. He reached her door, knocked. It opened immediately. Seraphine stood there in the same simple clothes, her hair still disheveled from the accident, looking uncertain and hopeful and heartbreakingly beautiful. "Dex, you changed everything for me," he said. "Risked diplomatic incidents, manipulated senior leadership, extended your mission. I did what my heart demanded." She stepped closer. "You risked your life for me without hesitation. How could I do less? I could lose everything. Then we will lose it together." She took his hands. "Or perhaps we will gain something neither of us expected. On Lumara, we have a saying, the greatest rewards come from the most dangerous journeys. I'm not good at this. At feelings, at being open. I've spent my whole life building walls, and I will wait patiently while you learn to climb over them." Her smile was gentle. "We have time now, however much we need." Dex pulled her close, finally allowing himself to hold her the way he'd wanted to since that first moment. She melted against him, her warmth seeping into all the cold. Empty places inside him. This won't be easy, he murmured against her hair. Nothing worthwhile ever is. They stood there, wrapped in each other, as the stars wheeled outside. Somewhere, protocols were being rewritten. Somewhere, reports were being filed. Somewhere, the galaxy spun on, indifferent to the small miracle happening in this quiet corridor. But here, in this moment, none of that mattered. Dex tilted Seraphine's face up and kissed her, gentle and reverent. She sighed into it, her fingers tangling in his hair. When they broke apart, she smiled. So this is another human custom? One of the better ones. I approve. She laughed, the sound like music. I would very much like to learn more. I think that can be arranged. Hand in hand, they walked into her quarters. The door slid shut behind them, offering privacy, offering possibility, offering a future neither had dared imagine. Outside, Ambassador Blackwood watched from down the corridor, her expression satisfied. She raised her champagne flute in a silent toast, then walked away. Sometimes duty and desire aligned. Sometimes the impossible happened. Sometimes, in the vast darkness between stars, two souls found each other against all odds, and that was enough.